You're locked in to the hottest station on the planet.
Resistance is futile. The revolution has begun.
You're listening to Rebelpreneur Radio, helping you break the rules and build the business you need for the life you want. And now, broadcasting his pirate signal
from somewhere beyond the status quo,
here's your host, best-selling author, marketing and media strategist, Ralph Brogden.
Hello and welcome to Rebelpreneur Radio. It's the show that helps you build the business you need so you can live the life you want. I'm Ralph Brogden. Well, at the intersection of life and business are matters of faith. And regardless of what you believe, your faith, the things that you believe, have a definite impact on your life and on your business. And as you're trying to build the business you need so you can live the life you want, faith, hopefully it fits in there someplace so that you understand business is not all about profits. I do believe that no money, no mission. So it's very important. Whatever your mission and purpose in life is, you have to be able to finance it with something. One model that is working very well for me and for other Rebelpreneurs out there is to build the business you need so you can live the life you want and so you can fund your purpose, your nonprofit organization, your mission, your movement, whatever it is. And that also is another way that you can give back and give. It gives purpose and meaning to everything that you do. So towards that goal, we are really fortunate to have a gifted author with us today to discuss his children's book. I'm pleased to introduce Devon Michael Sangiovanni. He was a children's songwriter, and he studied with a piano prodigy right outside of New York City for 9 years. Devon is a born lyricist, and his life was changed forever when he was blessed with a tiny little furball kitten with big, beautiful blue eyes and a heart to match. He is the author of the children's book, He Loves Me, He Truly Loves Me, the story of Mupsie and me and how we came to be. Devon, welcome to Rebelpreneur Radio.
Thank you so much, Ralph. Wow, you couldn't have said it any better. Thank you. You're such a good personality here.
Well, it helps when you have some great material to work with. I have had the pleasure of reading an advanced copy of the book, and it is a children's book, but it has a definite message. As a parent, as a grandparent, I'm really impressed with it, and I think my kids will love it as well. And I want to talk about your book. First, I want to find out more about you and your work. Tell us a little bit more about who you are and what you do.
Thank you, Ralph. You know, the truth of it is I am a born lyricist. It was just a natural gift from when I was really little. I mean, I would just write, and even all through grammar school, all through high school, I always won all the awards for the writing contest. But you know, I didn't really have to try, Ralph. Like it wasn't like a big stress where I had to do something. Usually, in the last 5 minutes when I threw it together, it always just came out. You know, and I attribute that to my natural gift. That was what I was given to. That was what was given to me as a talent. And I was also a musician. And when I grew up, my sister and my brother, they were 10 and 14 years older than me. So they always my sister played beautiful music in the house. You know, we went from one end to the next. So being that they were older than me, I had all these different genres of music in me. So it's really in my soul. And I met a woman, her name's Vera Teshev, and she was a piano prodigy. And I remember her coming up to me and saying, we used to go to a class together, and after the class, I would talk to a few people here and there, and finally one day I was on my way up the stairs, and she was tugging on my sleeve, and she said, she was like, "Hi, how are you?" I was like, "Hi, how are you?" And she said, "You have no idea who I am, do you?" And I was like, "No, I have no idea who you are." And she said, "Well, my name is Vera, and I'm a music producer." So I was like, "Oh, nice to meet you." And she said, "You always talk about your music. I'd like to have you come over, would you come over?" Because she said, "I've been watching you." And I'm thinking to myself, "You've been watching me?" It's like, "Yeah." She's like, "Every time I see you, you have a group of people, like a crowd of people always around you." And I was like, yeah. It's like, she's like, what is it about you? And I said, I was like, I'm just nice, like that's it. She's like, no, she's like, there's something a little more. I'm like, no, I don't know. I'm just nice. And sure enough, that is really honestly what I believe. Like, I'm just a nice person. Hi, how are you? Can I help you? Can I get you something? I was always that kid that would always go out of my way if I could help somebody. So anyway, I did. I went to her house. I was invited over, and if I tell you, I placed my guitar case next to her concert grand that was in her living room, and it looked like a ukulele. But needless to say, every song I'd start to play, she's like, I love that song. I love that song. I love that song. And it turns out that's what happened. I ended up studying with her for a very long time. And how I got into children's was there was also, only the top people studied with this woman. So there was a woman who played the oboe for she was first chair oboe for the Philharmonic. And she lived in that particular town, which is Englewood, New Jersey, very expensive, high-end, where all the artists and Tony Bennett lived there. Some of the top people lived there, and Eddie Murphy. So what happened was she was studying with Vera, and she had a little boy, and he had these golf clubs that were made specifically for him because they were so wealthy, little ones, and he was outside, and he was, hitting golf balls out on the front lawn, but every time he passed, he did the same. He would do the same thing. He'd pass by, he'd hear me singing a song. He's like, oh, I like that song. And then he would sit on Vera's lap, and he'd like, Devon, can you play this song? I'd be like, sure. And I'd play this song. He's like, oh, I like that one. Can you play another one? I was like, sure, I'll play this one. So we'd play every single one. And then when he would go home, he would not stop talking about me. He'd be like, Mom, we got to get back there. We got to go to Vera's. I have to hear that guy Devon sing. I want to go sing with him. So, okay, all right, I was singing, writing music, and, me, I thought my first show was going to be in Madison Square Garden. Well, little did I know, my first show was going to be in kindergarten. So anyway, one day, Vera's son comes home, Alexander, and now he's another genius. He went to Elizabeth Morrow. He also went to NYU and wrote his own curriculum. The kid, he's so successful right now, too. And he started, one day he came home, and it was a Sunday afternoon, and he had the New York Times in front of him, and he said, there's an article in the New York Times, and there's a gaping hole between Barney and Raffi. Do you think you can fill it? And I literally went home and wrote 15 songs and walked back in the door, and they were all floored. So they looked at me. They said, you have a career. So for 10 years, I wrote children's music, and I played all over. I actually played in Central Park, the Bronx Zoo, Brooklyn Children's Museum. I was in Cape May Baby Parade, but then I also played in Times Square, which is a big thing. And we had, it was a whole show. We had I was Diggity Devon back then, and we had Diggity dancers, and we had a big backdrop, and I was the voice of the character, so I could be behind the scene, behind the screen, and then they had a professional in the costume, and then the kids did the dances. So we went really, really far. Unfortunately, there was no social media back then. So after 10 years, studying was incredibly expensive, but to me, that's where my life was. That was where my investment went. So we still do. We have a great body of music. As a matter of fact, one of the songs is going to be released now. I wrote a pediatric dentist song because, going to the dentist, is not exactly kids' favorite thing to do. But I convinced them, and Vera Vera produced it, and Alexander, and we had kids singing. Fantastic. So that should be coming out, and it's going to be sent out to all pediatric dentists because Alexander's doing that part.
That's amazing.
I'm on my side.
That's amazing. Mm-hmm. So you've got a real gift and also a heart to work with kids. How did you make that transition from composing to writing a children's book?
That's so interesting, too, because I wanted a seal point Himalayan, but I wanted a female. I called all over the country looking for a female seal point Himalayan and could not find one. So about a year went by, and finally someone answered, and they said, yes, I have females. I said, good, I'm coming. I'm coming tomorrow. He calls me in the morning, and he says, they're males. And I said, I'm coming anyway. So this book is a true story. This is really what happened. I went to look at the kittens, and I called, and he said, yeah, we have females. What time? Yes, we have little girl kittens. What time will you be here? Okay, see you then. And one by one, the people would come and pick up the little girl kittens, and he would be left behind. Sad, so sad. But doesn't anybody want a boy kitten, he would sob. He began to think that no one would ever love him, and he waited, and he waited, and he waited, and he waited. So it is a true story, because I literally went there. And the man handed me the little kittens, the girl kittens. And in the book, you'll see, like there's a basket of kittens, but they were torties. And what torties are, they're a splash, meaning their colors are black and white and rust colored. And they're beautiful. But that wasn't what I wanted. I wanted a seal point. And sure enough, he put those little girl kittens in my hands, and I was in the big chair, and they were kind of cute, but I did have that look of despair. And then it was then that I turned, and I saw him sitting there. And our hearts began to flutter and love filled the air. Could it be he was the one who was the answer to my prayers? He knelt right down beside me and put me in his arms. I knew right then and there that I was safe from harm. And I closed my big blue eyes and I began to purr. He tickled my little belly and my soft and cuddly fur. So I knew right from the start that we would never be apart. We would always be together forever in my heart. And he says he loves me. He truly loves me. And I say, put your coat on. We're going home.
Now, I don't want you to give away the whole book because I want people to go out and buy it. But it is it's such a great story. I read it the other day, and it hits all the buttons, and it really is fun. It's inspiring. You definitely have a gift for it. That's obvious, and that's for sure. And I think that children everywhere will just love this thing to pieces. You write a children's book, but you're really writing it for the parents and the grandparents. They're the ones that are going to end up buying the book and reading it to their kids and their grandkids. What message are you wanting to communicate through your book to the parents and grandparents and other people in the lives of children? I guess that is the secondary audience. What is your message to them? What are you trying to say to them through the book?
It's so interesting because the preface is so powerful. And like I said, whenever I wrote anything for school or anything, I would just sit down and write it. It didn't take me hours and hours. But, in this, the preference is, it's in the presence of love that all children can grow and prosper. And as parents, and of course as grandparents, it is our responsibility to provide them with that love, and then we owe it to this little child a sense of security that he or she is well taken care of in all situations, because as parents or as whoever, grandparents, guardians, aunts, uncles, our most precious gift are the children. But what's the most important gift? It's love. I want children to prosper. I do, because that's important too. But it's the love with which we give them, when we encourage their strengths, we help them with their weaknesses. It's that love that will, it's in this experience of us that they will find their own strength to grow and prosper. Because, those first 7 years are really important. That's where all the grounding comes from, or that's where all the disasters come from. But they just need to know that they're loved, and their own ability to love, comes from that. And I believe that the animals play such a big part in that. And boy, did I get lucky. I got the greatest little guy on the planet. So it's like a combination. It's like a family, and sometimes that's all the kids have is maybe a dog or a cat. Parents, look at the parents today. Everybody's working. Everybody has to work so much that, I don't want them to miss that, but maybe, story time and that love at the end of the day, or they love as soon as you get home, like show the love. Let them feel how much you love them and be allowed, and allow them to love you back. That's pretty important.
Absolutely. Well, that's a powerful message. I think given the times that we live in, the challenges that we all have with family, with raising children, and with the mental health crisis that everyone is talking about, it is still, regardless of what's going on in the world, there are some basic absolutes, and I think you've touched on them, that every child needs love. Every child needs to feel that they are in a safe place. And I say parents and grandparents, it's not always that cut and dry. There's a lot of different families and relationships and combinations and blended families. and single parents out there, and guardians, and just adopted parents. There's a lot of different situations, and so the more complex the world gets, here's where I'm going with this, the more complex the world gets, the more it requires us to get back to the simplicity of what are the basic things that kids need, regardless of whether the family is a traditional family or non-traditional or no family at all. Every child needs love. They need safety. They need someone to care for them. They need a safe place and to know that someone cares for them. And that's really that really comes through in your story here.
Yeah. And, he was so adorable. It's so lovable. You know what I mean? That's it. It just seems like the minute that I laid my eyes on him, like that was it. Like my world changed. And the same thing I hear from parents. The minute they look at that baby and it's in their arms, like they've never loved so deeply. And, but like you said, there's a lot of different situations nowadays and struggles. It's not that easy. It's not that easy to work and have a couple of kids. It's a full-time job. And a lot of moms have to go out and work, and then they're single parents. I see it every day. But, I've also seen miracles. And that's what, for me, the difference for him was when he wasn't, the minute that he saw me, he knew I was the one too, and I was gentle and kind. And I think that's what kids need the most. They need somebody to be gentle and kind. Yes, be disciplined. And, mind their P's and Q's, because sometimes the kids nowadays, is anybody teaching them anything for values or respect for elders and things like that? The old-fashioned values. But today, I think it's belief. Like for me, I'm just blessed because I just believe. And I've always believed in my talents. I've always believed in my gifts, and that came from the love as a child, because my father, he loved me. He truly loved me. And that makes all the difference for me, even now, when things could get hard. Listen, it was a long road and it was a lot of work because I worked a lot to pay for all my lessons and things like that. But it's so worth it because now the message that I can get out to the world is this one. He loves me. He truly loves me. How important love is. How important faith is. How important is your belief. We have to help these kids find some type of solace. All the video games are, listen, they're great. The kids are advanced, the way that they whip around on the computers and things like that. But what about this silence? What about getting, quiet for a little while? Because for me, there's all different religions, there's all different faiths, and none of them are wrong. They're just different. And we have to get the kids to understand that everybody's different. All the bullying that goes on. The trauma kids are committing suicide. So, to bring it back to love and kindness and gentleness and also charity, can we get together and join together and start something that could help other people? Like for me, like this book, it's about the love, but it's also about, raising awareness, raising awareness for animals and pets and shelters and, raising money and fundraisers and fund drives. There's so much that can be done by allowing my natural gifts and my natural love and talent to get out into the world, which is what I heard a lot of your, I read a lot of your stuff on getting out into the world and impacting people. I have to be able to voice and say what it is that I want to help people with. I want to help people all around the world. Let's come together instead of breaking apart.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a wonderful and powerful message for everybody, everywhere. The name of the book is He Loves Me! ! And both of these are exclamation points. So he loves me. He truly loves me. The story of Mupsie and me and how we came to be. So you've been pretty busy since the book has come out, and I imagine you've got some promotional things going on. Where are you headed, and what's on your calendar here in the next few months?
Well, that's interesting because I did hire Erin Saxton, and she's running the marketing campaign. And I have a social media girl who has a 6 or 7-year-old daughter who loves Mupsie. I made watches with Mupsie's face on it, and also with the little basket of kittens. So the different colors, like the blue is the Mupsie face, and the kittens are in the pink. And then we have him sitting by the phone with the big red phone. And then we have another one of him praying in front of the church. And it's so interesting because the kids love the watches, and the watches light up. But for me, I'm building a whole, marketing campaign, or if you call it that, time to pray. There's a big message here. It's time to pray.
And that's what the watches are all about, the time to pray, which is a central thing to the book, right?
Yes, because they just, kids need to be, listen, I can't tell anybody how to pray. I can't teach anybody how to pray. But, I can tell them how I pray. For me, it's the opposite. I don't pray and ask for all these things. When I pray, I get silent. And you know who taught me that, don't you? Mupsie. he was very lazy. He's very lazy. And we would lay, in the morning when he gets into bed, he just purrs and he's just so happy. And we get to be in the silence. And for me, the silence is when I can hear the messages, coming from inside of me. Who am I really, and why am I here? With all the hubbub and the text messaging and the emailing, even television takes a back seat to YouTube. I can learn so much on YouTube and I can be on all day long, but it's when I can really, really, really get quiet that I can hear the messages that I'm supposed to hear. And those may just be whispers, but I think if I can help people learn just a little bit, just to be quiet for a little part of the day, and start them with, time to pray. It's simple. The thing about me, and the reason why I am a children's artist, is because I can break down all the major things that it takes us as adults so long to learn can really be simplified for children. Yeah. And that is the gift I have. It's simple. It's really not that difficult. But we make things difficult.
That's true.
And, the world. The pace and the speed that we're running at, there's no quiet time anymore. And I think when the kids are with the pets, sometimes the pets are quiet. It's just nice to be with somebody, and the cats, they purr. I mean, he purrs so loud, it's beautiful. But I know that there's a lot of cat people out there that are going to love this guy. And it's so many markets, there's the whole Christian market. And, as you brought up before, the homeschooling and the children's hospitals. Like, I have a lot of work to do because I want to go to the children's hospitals. Like, I want to give those kids hope. I want to give them the book. I want to give them the watches. I want to give them, that's me. I'd give it all away, but I just believe that all the merchandise and marketing underneath it is to help fund the spread of the word. Yeah. To get out to so many people.
It's marketing your mission. And that is, that's life-changing. That takes it to a higher level than just ordinary transactions. So how can our listeners find out more about the book? And better yet, how can they buy it? Where do they go?
Yes. Well, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to have it all. Well, it's on Mupsie.com right now. I think I'm going to make everything exclusive to Mupsie.com, so they don't have to go all over like on Amazon or Walmart or Walgreens. No, it's just going to be Mupsie.com. And then we have a big social media arm now, and the woman, oh my God, my social media girl, she loves my mission. She just loves it. She read it. She prays over this book every night because she has this 6-year-old. This message needs to get out to more people. So she's doing a lot, and all the social media is at the Mupsie series. So if you go on Facebook or you're looking for us on Instagram, just do at the Mupsie series, and that's where you'll find us. And my email is themupsieseries.com. We tried to keep everything as simple and coordinated as possible.
Sure.
So
yeah, so
in one of those,
good.
Mupsie.com.
Yeah, so Mupsie.com, and I'll spell that. We'll put that on the website as well, but it's MUPSIE.com, which is a great that's a great brand, a great name, and a great domain name. It's nice and short, easy to remember. Mupsie.com, and we'll put that link on the Rebelpreneur website as well. I'm really excited that we were able to get you on and talk about your book and about your message to everyone. And I appreciate you sharing your story with us. Any final thoughts or words of wisdom that you'd like to leave us with?
You know, it's always all about the love. I don't know. It just always boils down to that. And belief. You know, you have to believe that things are going to happen for you, that the good things are going to happen. You know, because a lot of times we worry, and we worry so much. And the worry just takes away the joy out of life. And, you know, I've worked a lot with time, you know, managing my time, because there's not that much time to do so many things. But that's another area that I want to get into with the kids. You know, like maybe on Facebook, we're going to do Mupsie Mondays. Tuesday will be Time Tuesday. Wednesday will be Workout Wednesday. You know, Thursday will be teaching Thursday. And Friday is going to be Fashion Fridays. You know, what's in fashion these days? And, you know, what are we looking for? Because I think that kids kind of need that. I don't know. The ideas that I get just come to me, and I don't believe they come from me. You know, I believe that they come from up above, who's ever running the show, because, you know, I'm not it. I just follow directions, which I'm very, very good at. I can follow the directions. So when I get silent and I take that time, you know, just to be quiet and hear the messages, you know, that's what I get. You know, help the kids. Because that's the future, and I want to bring them all together, all different religions, all different countries, the whole world, because where are we headed if we don't? So we have to start there. So I'm going to try to start a Kickstarter, you know, to get things up and running even better or further or, you know, faster. Because doing it all by myself is a big job. But listen, I'm willing. And I'm ready. So I appreciate everybody out there. Thank you so much for listening and coming. And if you buy the book, you know, be careful, because you're going to fall in love with Mr. Mupsie. He'll steal your heart. So be careful. And thank you so much. And thank you, Ralph, for having me. What a pleasure. This has been so much fun.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Devon Michael Sangiovanni is a children's songwriter. He's the author of the book, He Loves Me. He Truly Loves Me. The story of Mupsie and me and how we came to be. And you can pick that up at Mupsie.com. So, Devon, thank you so much for your time and for sharing your wisdom and your gift with us here on Rebelpreneur Radio. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Ralph, for having me.
You've been listening to Rebelpreneur Radio with Ralph Brogden. Download the show notes and much more at Rebelpreneur.com.